Hello. Welcome to this week's edition of The Lower League Look, where we discuss the last 7 days and the upcoming 7 days of League Two. We remain impartial and treat everyone the same, except Carlisle. Carlisle can get fucked. And now, as John Yens would say, introducing 3 fat clowns. It's the Lower League Look. It's the Lower League Look. It's the Lower League Look. It's the Lower League Look.
Guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the Lower League Look. We have a special guest tonight for the first half of the show. I'm going to get the point right. Am I getting the point right? Yes, I am. We've got Gab Sutton with us tonight. You know Chris, you know Grant. Gab, not a League Two fan, but probably one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever known when it comes to football. And we were like, we've got to take this chance. So, Gab, I'm going to give you a bit of time. Tell us about yourself and why you obviously you love football. What's brought that on? What's put you in this position?
Sure. Well, you say I'm not a League Two fan. I'm not a fan of a League Two club. I support Birmingham City, but I know what you meant. But I think, I guess I started writing about the lower divisions about 8 years ago and just kind of crafted a niche on it. I actually started off by doing some writing on the Premier League as well, but I actually found that there was actually more interest in what I was writing about the lower divisions because your Hartlepools and your Bradford Cities weren't getting as much main coverage from the mainstream media. So although they'd had smaller fan bases, obviously, than Manchester United and Man City, you got a much higher proportion of their fan bases that were reading your stuff, and I found like I could kind of carve out a niche with that. So I kind of dedicated a bit of time towards that kind of project, and then started to get some more offers, and now I'm working for various clients. So quite lucky really that I had the time to work towards that, and I'm glad that I can focus on giving these divisions the coverage that they deserve, because they're wonderful leagues, aren't they? I mean, League Two, the promotion race is just absolutely extraordinary this season, and it's such a pleasure to follow it.
Yeah, I mean, you've nailed it there. Really, League Two this season, I think, as far as a promotion race is concerned, it's the best one in the country. I think the National League is quite strong, but you'd expect it to be that good with the amount of money that's been splashed there. But we're going to come on to the coverage side of things. And do you know what? I'll start with it, Gab, because I think that it's something that is quite fresh in our minds. Grant, I know that you're quite big on this. And that's that Sky have announced their fixtures for the Easter weekend. And it's diverse, to say the least. If you're a fan of the top end of the Championship or the top end of League One, not a single League Two game. Once again, this is the second time in a row that they've done this. I know we had Monday night, but that was, I think, pulled in as an extra because it was for the Ukraine cause that they moved the game around. So why do you think it is? Why do you think that we just don't get the coverage in this league?
Well, I think you've backed me into a bit of a corner here, because on the one hand, I feel passionately about League Two getting the coverage it deserves. I think it's an absolutely wonderful league that I don't think is getting the extent of coverage that it deserves. When you look at the National League and what BT Sport are doing with them, you've got to give full credit to BT Sport, and that's kind of funding a lot of the investment, or leading to a lot of the investment that's going into the National League. So on the one hand, I feel passionately that League Two deserves more coverage. On the other hand, I'd quite like to work for Sky Sports one of these days, so I'm also please give me a job, guys. So I suppose it's kind of reconciling them the two things, but no, I mean, the promotion race is such an exciting thing, and I am surprised that that there aren't more games that are getting covered. And I'd love it if someone like Quest TV, who have done such a good job covering all 3 leagues on the EFL highlights, I'd love it if they got that sort of gig for one or two minutes, because I think that's what the League Two needs, really.
I definitely think it is. I'm not as much as in the fence as you, Gab, because I'm not looking for a job with Sky Sports.
I say that, but if you got a message into your inbox tomorrow from Sky Sports,
if you get a message from the inbox from Sky, I would go for it. But I think
give me your number.
If they listen to this, I've not got a hope in hell of getting a job with Sky Sports. They'd need a big censor button for me, which Liam struggles with. I think it's a fucking joke. I said it on Twitter earlier on. I'm not sure if it was your tweet that I responded to, Gab, or if it was League Two Central. It was one of them that I responded
League Two
to.
Centrals.
It's horribly undervalued. I think League Two. I don't think Monday's game was the best advert for League Two, to be honest with you. I think everyone that watched the Forest Green match said the same thing. It was a bit poor, but there's no doubt there's some fantastic teams, some fantastic players, and there's some great matches that happen like throughout the full thing. And yeah, BT Sport are doing a great job with the National League. I don't see why we can't get more coverage in League Two. But no doubt if they did, it would just all go to Salford, as it always does.
Not like being salty there. Chris, for you, just on what Gab said there about the, and obviously Grant touched on it, the National League getting the coverage. Do you think that Sky could or should look at letting League Two go? You know, they're obviously not too interested in looking at League Two. They're happy with League One. They're happy with the Championship. Why not let BT Sport have League Two and the National League?
Or another, another channel. I mean, like, I don't want to bring in another sport, but obviously we've got Channel 4 have brought in rugby league on a Saturday morning or Saturday lunchtime, which has worked really well. I think they had some of the highest grossing figures for a sporting event, especially for rugby league. And I think for me, I'm not afraid to mention what I think. I do think that Sky Sports seem to just go with the easy option. And as we've said, I think this is the most exciting run. It's the most exciting run up to an end of a season that we've got in all of the leagues. I'd also say, I know we've talked about the top of the League Two as well. I think it's important to mention as well that at the bottom as well. I mean, there's still a potential of, 3 or 4 teams that could still do that. So for me, I think obviously we've got the problem where we've got, you've got to take the 3 leagues and you've got to make, they have to be together. But to be honest with you, I think it'd be really good to see what, another channel could do, especially like I said, BT Sports for National League has been phenomenal. Absolutely.
I think the difficulty is with that though, isn't it? Is because the EFL is basically what covers your Championship, League One and League Two TV rights, and then your National League, your National North and South are completely separate. They're run by the National League, which essentially is its own entity, and it doesn't run by EFL rules. They don't even, this season, we've discussed this before, they don't run financial fair play, really. And that's coming in with their own version of it next year. So I think the TV it must be a TV package that comes to that, because Quest TV, they've got the rights to the highlight reels, but they're losing that at the end of the season as well. It's going to ITV, I think it is.
ITV, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
I think the other problem you've got though is that I feel I would absolutely love it if there were more live games on TV, because especially at this stage of the season, the excitement, the unpredictability, it makes it such a wonderful league, and because everyone's at a sort of relatively even level, I'd much rather watch a League Two game than a Premier League game where Man City and Liverpool are winning every week. I think that a lot of the time when games are moved, fans often complain about the timings of the matches. So they'll say, well, why is this on at 12:30, for example? It means that it sort of disrupts our travel arrangements as opposed to the 3 o'clock. So I do sometimes feel as well that TV companies are in a no-win situation with fans, because if they show a game, then they'll have to move the time of it, and that will inconvenience fans. But if they don't show a game, that will annoy fans as well. So sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of an inconsistency in there as well, as a lot of the points that are very
point.
valid.
Very fair point. I do think if you knew...
Just on that point though, because we're talking about Easter weekend, there's no games being moved for it, because they're allowed to show 3 p.m. kickoffs. It's Good Friday, it's Bank Holiday Monday, so they're showing that they've essentially. You look on the Friday, they've got a game at 12:30, 3 o'clock, 5:30, 8 p.m. They've then got 3 games on the Saturday, and then on the Monday they've got 12:30, 3 p.m., 5:30, 8 p.m. Now, for me, I think up until probably the last couple of years, the Championship's been one of the best leagues in the world. Like, the Championship has been quality.
Yeah.
However, I don't have any desire, and I don't think that I will be in the minority here. I have no desire to watch Nottingham Forest play West Brom. Yeah, it's not a. West Brom are a club that are going to bounce up and down between the Premier League. Notts Forest aren't. They've done it before, but they're not going to be a team that are ever going to.
Even when they're in the Premier League, I've got no desire to watch West Brom. It's the dullest club in the world.
This is the thing, and it's like you've got these teams that are in the lower leagues, and there's so many teams in this league that could put on a better show than I think those two teams for that game. I genuinely believe. You look at what we got. Forest Green, who finally got a win last night. Sorry, not the night before. I forgot when we're recording this. Mansfield, they've got back on this run. They've gone, 18 games? I think they went before they got that defeat. And
unbeaten. Yeah.
And at that point, you'd have thought that Sky would have looked and gone, these could, obviously they haven't, but they could have gone all the way to the Easter weekend. We need to be looking at putting someone like that on.
Yeah, but
that sort of team.
But on the flip side to that, how many fans of Mansfield got? How many fans of Forest Green got? How many fans of Nottingham Forest got? How many fans of West Brom got? And that's where Sky are looking at this and going, well, that's why we need to stay in the Championship. Unfortunately for the neutral, we're not being able to access as much live football as we should. And I guess a conversation could be as well, because obviously, bringing this into it might be slightly changing subject, but it's the 3 p.m. kickoffs. Is it now time that clubs are allowed to make money from 3 p.m. kickoffs? Is that really a sanction now? Now, I'd be interested to see what you think on this, Gab.
Just before you jump in on that, Gab, we're the only country that still does it. It used to be blanket. It used to be across the whole of Europe. We are the only country, aside from, I think, possibly someone like Switzerland, we're the only ones who do not allow teams to broadcast at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. We're the only ones left. I think that should change. I don't see why it's so expensive to go and watch the game, especially when your team's away. We should be able to watch them.
I think the fact that it's expensive to watch the game is something we have to address as a sport. I think that this leads to a lot of issues within this country in terms of the privatisation of the rail system. I'm not quite going to go into politics on here, but you can see what I'm sort of driving at. There's lots of ticket prices as well. Is another huge issue. I paid £28 to watch Cheltenham Town against Doncaster Rovers. Now, I'm more than happy to pay that because I love watching Cheltenham Town against Doncaster Rovers, but there's outsiders who might be a bit more neutral, a bit more on the fence, who would go if it's a £10 or £15, but probably wouldn't pay that amount of money. So I think there's lots of issues that we have to tackle and try and tackle as a sport. But I also think that we value what we invest in life. And I think that if football becomes a kind of fast food sport where you click a few buttons and you get it right up on your laptop, I don't think you invest in it in the same way. If I watch Birmingham City play on the TV, maybe if I've got a couple of mates round and we'll maybe celebrate a few goals, but certainly if I'm watching it on my own, I wouldn't feel about it as strongly as I would as if I'm at the game. And I think for me, it's absolutely fundamental to the future of the game that people have that match day experience, people have that live atmosphere. I think that's so much of what makes football what it is. And for me, I think that abandoning the blackout would be the start of a very, very slippery slope.
I agree to a point there where the match day experience is key. And there's nothing like it. There genuinely isn't. I've been to other sports. I've seen fans at other sports. I genuinely don't think that there's a better experience than being at a football game. But at the same time, when we come back to that cost of living, we come back to the cost of the game. Clubs have got to do more to make it better to go to games, because it's like you look at. If I had the option to watch from home, I live 15 minutes away from the ground. Bradford City is not an expensive ground to go and watch at, in terms of, it actually got voted the most valuable in the league. I think yesterday it came out the most valued team to go and watch in the league, which I don't really understand. But it's not expensive for me to go and watch it. But if Bradford City lose, there's nothing for me to do there. There's nothing really that entices me to go in if we're on a bit of a bad run. However, we've just...
What about the chops on Manningham Lane? They do some decent food there.
They do, but I can go there Monday to Friday.
That's true.
And that's the thing. It's like, I think clubs have got into this position. There's a perfect example, and it's Manchester City, but I'll tell you about them in a minute. So the clubs have got into this position where they seem to think that that's enough. You turn up, they put a match on. Doesn't matter if they win, lose, good performance, shit performance. That's enough. And unfortunately, we're at a point where it isn't. Smartphones, we're talking about being able to stop the blackout and things like that, or dropping the blackout. You can watch games at 3 p.m. on a Saturday if you want to watch games at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. We'd be stupid to pretend
that's what I was going to say. If you want to watch a game, you're going to find a way to watch the game. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who are listening to us that will know exactly what we are talking about.
Yeah, and you've got that problem of there's maybe not enough to entice you. We at Bradford this week have launched a fan zone outside the ground. We're trying to build something, and I think that it will be a success. When I touched on Manchester City, I went for the Man City Everton game a couple of months ago, and outside their ground, people always laugh at Man City and like when the players are warming up or 5 minutes before the game and the seats are empty and they go, oh God, they've got no fans. They're all outside the ground. Outside the ground, they have a stage with a live band on. They have shops on the actual concourse itself. And I'm not talking like little kiosks. I'm talking full restaurants. Like Man City's a day out for me. Like when we went, we were gobsmacked. The whole experience is a day out. And at 10 to 3, they do an announcement. They go, guys, make your way to your seats. And everyone gets in because they've got it nailed. I think, yes, football is why we're all there, but there's a lot of other things that I think people would like to see. I've got 2 young children. They don't mind football. They're not 100% on it yet, but if there was something else that enticed them to go, that's what I think we need to look at.
Liam, is that not the challenge that we should take on, that encourage clubs to give fans a better offer to improve that match day experience, rather than say, well, they're not doing it, so let's not bother and let's just watch it on our smartphones and on our laptops. For me, I think that's more the thing to tackle. It's, can we try and encourage clubs to improve the match day experience? And I agree, some clubs aren't doing enough in that regard, and I think that's where part of the problem is.
And that's a perfect way to put it. We do need to encourage clubs to do more, but then on the flip side, that then comes back from the coverage, because without the coverage from the likes of Sky or BT Sport, whoever it would be that was in charge, that TV money coming in doesn't enable these clubs to do these things. So these decisions of what games you're going to put on over the Easter weekend, they have a massive. Nottingham Forest, the money that they receive for that game over Easter weekend ain't going to scratch the surface for them. You give that money to someone like Sutton, you give that money to Oldham at this stage of the season, it literally could be the difference between them surviving the summer and not surviving the summer. That sort of cash, it's not massive, but it's much more beneficial to someone like that. But unfortunately, clubs can't make these changes without the investment from above, and they're not going to make those changes until there's eyes on the club. There's no one looking at it apart from their fans. If no one's looking at it apart from their fans, why are they going to put on a show? Hartlepool, perfect example. When you played Rotherham the other week, Sky were there. You knew it was on Sky. You wanted to put a show on. Your fans raised, what was it, $5,000, and came to stand out with
good
flags.
Few thousand, yeah. And
because they knew that Sky were going to be there. And I think, we've had one game on Sky this season, which was away at Port Vale. It finished 2-2. It was a cracking game, and then just nothing else. But like as we sort of stuck on that a bit, and I don't want to, keep going on about it, but I think we could do probably a full podcast on whether TV's right in this league or not. I am going to pull us on to, first of all, I'm going to apologise because we didn't record last week. Gab, you might not know, we didn't record last week. Everyone in this thing, apart from you, Gab, was poorly. Well, no, these two were poorly. I was going to do one completely on my own, but thought that people might get annoyed. So we're going to make up for it this week. Let's look at the last 10 days, because it's been 10 days. That's not the right list.
I was going to say, what are you focusing on there?
I was reading, right, because we got this list that we run, this run sheet, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I didn't write this.
Thank God we can edit things out.
This isn't getting edited. What are you talking about?
No, it can't get edited, can it? Right. So we've come back in. So what we've got to talk about here, Stevenage. Let's touch on Stevenage. Let's start on Stevenage. Stevenage sacked the manager, brought in the ever lovely Steve Evans. What are we thinking, guys? What do we think about that as a decision?
Do I dare say it? I actually don't think it's the worst decision in the world. I really don't. I mean,
you guys at Bradford know that he's got balls, don't you?
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think Tisdale. I think the fact that they've sacked Tisdale after he only came in. I think it was November. Tisdale seems to have had a run of lots of jobs. I'm saying that probably 3 or 4 since he was Exeter for 5-6 years. Did a great job there. I don't think he got enough time there. Do I think it's a good move? Yeah, I do. I do think it's a good move. I think it's a ruthless move that they needed. They need someone to come in and sort the club out so that they don't go down. What are they, 3 points away from Oldham? 3rd bottom. I think it's a shrewd move. I certainly do not think it's the worst move of the weekend, but we'll come on to that in a bit.
It was an interesting first thing that that he'd done as a manager, didn't he? So he comes in as the manager, and then all of a sudden there's this COVID outbreak, and they can't play their game at the weekend.
At a time, by the way, where you don't have to isolate for COVID no more.
I'm calling bullshit on that.
Did he do the same at Gillingham? Gab, you'll probably know this. Has he done? I'm pretty sure when he was at Gillingham, there was a COVID outbreak there as well, which was quite a suspicious one. Because as soon as it happened, everyone was just like, typical Evans. We knew this was going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. Obviously, there's no way of proving it, but what do you think, Gab? What do you think the Evans situation is going to be at Stevenage come the end of this season?
I can see why they've gone for him, to be honest, because I look at Paul Tisdale, and to be honest, I certainly don't think of him as a manager that you'd want in a relegation dogfight, because he's just incredibly calm, almost a little bit cold at times, very sort of distant. And I think that actually the way he conducts himself in the modern game is more suited to a kind of director role, as opposed to actually being a tracksuit person that's on the sidelines, because he's very process driven. He tends to look at the bigger picture. And when you're in a dogfight, I'm not quite sure it's the right sort of vibe. But Steve Evans, whether we like him or not, I think he can drill a team into shape. I think everywhere he's been, he's got results, hasn't he? When you look at Crawley, when you look at Rotherham, Peterborough was okay. Gillingham, 2 top half finishes on probably a bottom 6 budget, bottom 8 budget, something along those lines. Okay, it didn't work out for him so well this season, but I think Steve Evans keeps Stevenage up, where I don't think Paul Tisdale would.
That's interesting. So you're back in Stevenage to stay up now?
I am, yeah. Definitely.
You are. Let's talk about managers. Chris, you touched on it. Grant, do you know what, Chris? I think we just let Grant run with this. Another managerial casualty this week and replacement. I want to make a point of one thing I read. Barrow sacked the manager. They've brought in Phil Brown. And the first thing I saw as a reply to the announcement of the bringing in Phil Brown was, if I'd have known this was what you were going to do, I would have said, stick with who we had. It's not great. Grant, what do you think about Phil Brown?
God, why have they brought in Phil Brown? I mean, I can't think of a good reason to bring in Phil Brown other than going down he's got Premier League experience. He's not got great Premier League experience, does Phil Brown. I think it's a really poor one. He took Southend down bottom. Did he not get them down the bottom of the National for a while? Then they sacked him. Then he buggered off to India. He's not done well in India. And now he's back here. But I really feel sorry for the Barrow fans.
No, you don't.
I do, because I like Barrow. I do like.
He does
Barrow.
because he wants Carlisle to go down.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They're not going down now. I really feel sorry for Barrow. I think this is probably the worst manager appointment of the season. I just don't see it ending well for them at all. And what can they be thinking, right? What's Phil Brown going to bring in if they stay up going into next season? What's he bringing to Barrow?
Do you think they're looking that far ahead?
They have to. They can't just go. Let's get to the end of the season and then fucking sack him anyway. They have to go. We're going to stay up. This is the man who's going to keep us up and see us into next season and be successful next season. Does Phil Brown say that to any of you three, truthfully?
Well, what I wonder about is why more League Two clubs don't recruit more managers from Step 2. Because granted, there's a lot of money in the National League, so it's hard to headhunt managers from that level. Although I am surprised that Pete Wilde at Halifax has a job somewhere else. There's obviously the lad at Boreham Wood, Luke Garrard, that's done really well there as well. But then in Germany, they produce some really good coaches, and they've got a model where they don't really define coaches by the level that they're managing at. They're quite happy to hunt managers from the lower divisions. And I just wonder why we don't see more managers get an opportunity higher up. And clubs that would often say, oh, we don't want to pay, or people would say on behalf of clubs, we don't want to pay compensation fee. But what you're getting in return for that compensation fee is the manager of the whole operation that's in form, that's up and coming, that's had success previously, and can, has knowledge of other markets and potential players and things like that. And for me, that makes a lot more sense than going for some of the same sort of recycled names, especially if they've not done particularly well in recent years. So I don't get why clubs don't invest a little bit more money on paying a compensation fee, because then you could maybe cut back the budget a little bit and say, we trust you to develop these players, or maybe a lower budget. I think that's a much better way of doing it myself.
I agree. I think Pete Wilde, obviously we were talking about him for the Bradford job. He was in the odds for the Barrow job, and the second that name was, I said he would be crazy to take that job. I think
that would have been career suicide for him.
7 places between Barrow and Halifax at the minute. Like, why take that? It's not a step, really.
Well, Stockport are winning the National League title. Barrow have got a good chance of staying up. So, and the structure at Halifax isn't necessarily brilliant. They could struggle to go up again next season. So there would have been an argument for him to take a league job.
I think at the time it looked a bit different. Looking now after Oldham's result last night, I think things look a little bit safer for the likes of Barrow at the bottom of the bottom of the league. And I think that's something, I've got here to mention Oldham. Now, we started this podcast essentially talking about Oldham. That was the running joke at the beginning. They proved us wrong. They went on this run. We're back there. And after last night's game, you look on Facebook, you look on Twitter, their fans seem sort of accepting now that that's it. That's it for them. They don't believe they're going to stay up. They don't believe that Shez Erection's a thing. We called it Dead Erection. We've changed it to today. # Dead Erection.
Dead Erection.
Not bad. Yeah, I've just realised when you said it that way.
I mean, that's pretty much how Oldham have gone the last
we're going to get a sponsor by like a Viagra company now, aren't we? Just, but no, guys, Oldham. What do you think? I'm finding it hard now to look, and I mean they're the most out of form team in the league. I find it really hard to find any sort of positive light for them for this season. I'm really, really concerned for them for the summer with what their owners like.
I think the one thing I would kind of say though is that they are only 3 points off safety. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've got a better goal difference than the team that's in 22nd. So yes, we can look at it and say they've lost their last 4 games and the bounce has gone. But I do think that if they can pick up some of the form that they found when Sheridan first charge with 5, 6, 7 games unbeaten, they went initially. then they've got a chance. And I think that's the thing with League Two, because there's only 2 teams going down. There's a chance you might be able to get away with staying up. It's unlikely. I would still have Oldham going down as part of my bottom 2, but they've got players like Davis Keeler-Dunn. If last season's Bahambula turns up, Masilu's a battler in midfield. You know, they've got a chance. Whether they can do it, I'm not sure, but it could change in one game week. Is what I would
they've got two really big games coming up. They've got
Mansfield Stevenage to play, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got Mansfield this weekend, which I think they can pretty much write off. If they get points against Mansfield, fair play to them. But then after that, they've got 2 really big games in a row. They've got Orient, and then they've got Stevenage. I'm back to back within a couple of days. So the 29th, they've got Orient, and then the 2nd, they've got Stevenage. So huge for a few days coming up for Orient.
Stevenage is the key.
Orient for Oldham.
Yeah. I think the other thing is, I think if John Sheridan does keep Oldham up this year, I think that could be the last of him as a manager. I think that it would be quite nice in a way for him to end on a high and then either move upstairs or... Because I think he did an interview with Under the Cosh where he actually admitted that he does have difficulty managing the modern player. And I do think that in the modern game, you've got to work with the players that are available. You can't just say this is how it was in the good old days. You've got to work with what's there. And I do question whether Sheridan can do that. And I certainly don't think he would be the right appointment for Oldham Athletic long term, whether or not they stay up this season. So I think in a way it would be quite a nice end to his association with Oldham Athletic if he kept them up and then moved on.
I mean, I've mentioned before, Gab, about Sheridan.
Have you? We don't.
The early days.
You mentioned it before.
And I just said that I thought it was a terrible decision for Oldham because he just literally moves from club to club. He's not done anything significant in the last few years. But he's Oldham through and through. And when we had Chris on, the Oldham fan, he talked about how he is, Sir Sheridan. Oldham is his club. I wouldn't begrudge him that, and I think you're right. I think that is exactly what he needs to do. I think at the end of the season, whatever happens, I think he needs to move upstairs in whatever capacity that is. Hopefully, maybe
you want him to go to an old people's home, don't you? You want him upstairs in an old people's home.
No comment.
Guys, we're gonna let you go because I know you've got other things you need to do. But honestly, thank you so much for coming on. We've wanted you on for a while, so really glad you came on. Yeah, guys. How do I do this? I can never do this pointing. No, I've got it wrong again. Gab!
You're just pointing at that amazing new logo.
I can't do it, said.
I'll do it. Gab!
No, I've got it wrong now. Anyway,
yeah,
it's been a pleasure, gents, and hopefully catch up with you soon.
Yeah, see you soon, Gab.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take it easy,
Right.
Right, let me just adjust. And here we are back in the room. Look, we've all gone in the right place.
Oh.
Guys, no, it's got the old logo. Guys, can we sorry, but anyone who's not seen the new logo, look, someone who's not seen the old logo and the new logo, that's the new logo. Unfortunately for today, that is going to have the old logo on it. It'll change for next week. Don't worry. Just sticking with the last 10 days. Can't get the staff, Chris. Can't get you guys on at a reasonable hour either. Mansfield, Forest Green, both got back to winning ways last night, the night before. We touched on it, but Grant, we watched that Forest Green game and it was the most
was dismal. It was not a good game to watch. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I thought it might have just been me. And when you start watching a game of football and then you kind of go, this isn't great. And then you start flicking through TikTok, start flicking through Twitter. I was going through Twitter, just checking the hashtag for the game and then just looking through Forest Green. And everyone was saying the exact same thing. They were going, oh my God, this game is dull. It was not a good game of football to watch.
It was horrible.
So you saved yourself a bit of time there, Chris, not watching.
I watched the highlights, and I'm not going to lie, even the highlights were terrible. So
can I make a point? Anyone who's watching, they might not have noticed this, but I've noticed it. Chris, I don't know if you've noticed it. I don't know if you've noticed it, Grant. The reflection of your glasses, Chris, because of your green screen, is making your right eye see-through.
Nice.
I've
Well,
not noticed that.
I was
I've
going to
got-
say I had some really cool glasses today, but you kind of look like Dame Edna, so I think I've got away with that one.
Chris, you look like you've got 2 ashtrays on your face. Shush now. Right.
But
Mansfield got
do
their win
you know?
as well.
I'll tell you what was very good though about that game.
the
Our
full-time
new,
whistle.
our new match day live experience.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Chris,
the
we've not seen
experience.
you yet. It is an
So-
experience.
To anyone that's not yet in it, we have our own Discord channel. We have now made a Lower League Look Discord channel. And our aim is to have match day chat rooms. So you can go in if you're listening to the match, if you're somehow watching the match, don't know how you'd be doing that. You can talk about what's going on. You can have a bit of banter between fans. Just good, a bit of good, clean fun, everyone. It's good fun. Come and join in the fun. We will put a link somewhere to our Discord channel. It's up on our Twitter page if you've not seen it. Come and join in the fun.
We did it last night as well. We had like 7 or 8 of us in one room last night while the 4 games were on, and it was, don't get me wrong, like I didn't follow any of the teams that were playing, so I didn't have a great interest, but it was just good to hear other fans about what they think's going on. And we had Adrian, who was on earlier in, I think, episode 3 or 4. He's obviously a Mansfield fan. He was on watching the Mansfield game, and he just was screaming while he was watching it. So it was brilliant. Chris, we've not seen you yet. We're hoping to see you there soon.
Well, if I get chance, but I think it's important as well is that, even just not the match day experience, it's about, having a chat. There's lots of different rooms and threads that you can have a little chat about, about your own club or whoever you're coming up against next. It's just nice to get fans involved. And if you guys fancy coming along, get yourself on Discord, get yourself on the chat. And just let's talk football. If Sky aren't going to fucking play us, I tell you what, we'll still talk about it.
Well, speaking of Sky and speaking of plans and the Discord, we have a plan before the end of the season, hopefully, to recreate. I don't say recreate because it's not recreate, because we're going to do it live. We're going to do a 3 p.m. live kickoff where we do Soccer Saturday, but our version. And we're going to have, and we want fans from teams all around the country watching their team who we can cut to, like on Soccer Saturday. But I want you wearing outfits. I want someone with the stadium as their background, and then we go to them 20 minutes later and they're in a different part of the stadium. It needs to be authentic. We need to make it ridiculous. So that's also a plan. So we need people to get in touch. I've got quite a few who want to do it. So we're going to try and build it up and get it to be this stupid thing that it could be. Because Sky aren't going to show us, so we'll show ourselves.
It's going to be good fun. It's going to be good fun.
It is going to be fun. It's going to be hilarious as well.
Do you know it's going to be really funny when we know the goal's going in on the video printer, and then we're just like,
put the video printer on like a 3-minute delay.
Mansfield, there's going to be a goal.
What's happened? It'll be literally the Cammy experience at every goal, won't it? What's happened? I don't know. It's a throw-in. What are you talking about? So let's finish off the last 7 days. And it's we touched on this guy the other week, and we were talking about how he's sorted himself out, how his attitude's got better, how he's become, a good League Two manager. Joey Barton. And we were a bit premature in this. Now I've looked into it.
Be careful because it's still an ongoing case. So
yes.
We do need to be careful with it.
So I've looked into it, and the case is essentially this. They had a house party, allegedly had a house party, him and his wife, their friends around. There was an altercation. The police were called. His wife was struck in some way. She's defending him. The case was adjourned yesterday again because she's written a letter to the court, which apparently has been dismissed. It's not being used as evidence. She's saying that it was an accident. By the sounds of things, and from what I'm reading, the friends that were at the party, they're the ones that have given the statements that are quite damning of him. Spoke to a Bristol Rovers fan last night who said, it's innocent until proven guilty, and I agree 100%. There shouldn't be a witch hunt out for him until you know what's going on. But should he be guilty, his position becomes completely untenable, and this is what Bristol Rovers fans are saying as well.
Yeah, of course, and I don't think there's been any Bristol Rovers fan who's come out and said that if he is guilty, that he should still be there. I tell you one thing that's pissed me off a little bit about this week as well is that because I won't mention her name, but there's a Bristol Rovers fan who is her game too, and she's quite one of the big ambassadors. They've come off Twitter this week because they've just had so much abuse because people have jumped straight on. Oh, but why have you not been giving the abuse to Joey? And it's like, hold on, it just seems sometimes that people just want to have an excuse to just have a go at someone for nothing. And it's like, the work that those girls are doing, those women are doing is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like someone's going, oh yes, perfect excuse to have a go. And like I said, I won't mention her name because I don't want to embarrass her. She has come off Twitter because of it for a little while. And it's disappointing.
Nice.
It's disappointing.
Football fans can be the best in the world and the worst in the world, and we all know it. We can either be the greatest fans of any sort of, you look at TV shows, anything like that. Football fans can either be the absolute best, or we can be the absolute worst.
Fickle people. I think fickle's a great word to put in for football fans. Yeah.
And it's not good. And you know what? We're hoping that eventually we'll get someone from the Her Game 2 movement on, that group. We're going to get them together. Because we want to speak to him. I'm gonna touch on something else that I've got that we've never touched on. We've looked at the National League, and we've looked at it from day one. We've always looked at who's going to come up and join us. What we've not done is looked at League One, at who's going to drop. And I want to do that now, so I want to get your opinions on this.
Can we?
We can.
Oh, I am waiting for Chris.
Can we?
I think Chris has been waiting for this moment after the one when he was on holiday.
Yeah.
Chris.
So
over to you, my friend.
Well, I'm gonna just read. I'm just gonna give you my opinion, Chris, of what I think is gonna happen, and then I want you to go on yours. Crew are currently on 25 points at the bottom. Crew are down. Doncaster are on 30 points. I believe Doncaster are coming down with them. There's another team, I'm not going to mention them because Chris is going to, but the fourth team that I believe is going to come down is Gillingham. He can't. It's Gillingham. And the reason I think it's Gillingham, I'm going to read you Gillingham's remaining fixtures for the season. So, they play Accrington Stanley on Saturday. Fine. Then they play Sunderland. Then they go to Wickham. Then they play Wickham at home. Then they go to Cheltenham. Then they've got Fleetwood Town. Then they've got Portsmouth. And then they finish with top of the league, Rotherham. Like, that is a horrific run. Yeah. So I believe Crewe, Doncaster and Gillingham are nailed on. But I'm wondering who the fourth team is, Chris. Take it away.
So it might be a team that have conceded 9 in 2 games by any chance. Could it be? I believe that they got beat 5-0 by Shrewsbury the other day. And what was interesting in the post-match comments by their new manager, I've forgotten what his name is, Deluded something or other. Anyway, his excuses, as per, were, oh, it's not my fault. It's the new players that have come in, basically blaming the previous manager. I didn't listen to what his comments were in the 4-1 loss to Wigan. To be fair, you would have expected 4-1. I'm not going to, Wigan are absolutely flying at the moment. You would expect
top team.
Yeah, you would have expected them to get beaten that. But already from what I'm reading on Twitter is a lot of disharmony from Morecambe fans towards their new manager already after 3 games. I think it's 3 games.
5 games now.
5 games. I apologise. Yeah, and I don't think he's got a win yet, has he?
No, he drew against Ipswich in his first game, and then he's lost 2-0, 3-1, 5-0, and 4-1. They've shipped essentially in 5 games. What we're talking 9, 12, 14, 15 goals in 5 games. He's conceding an average of 3 a game.
I really hope you see if they do come down. I really hope they keep Adams in. I really do, because that'll be a game I will want to go to Bradford for, because I think it'll be hilarious. He will get some amount of stick. If you think about it, we could be in a position next season where you've got Adams going back to Bradford and Challoner coming back to Hartlepool. Yeah. They're 2 games where the atmosphere is going to be toxic as hell.
Our ground is going to chant Mark Hughes, Bradford Army the entire match. That's all it's going to be.
There might
maybe
be
one or two other words.
There might be another one of the your football is shit, Derek Adams, your football is shit, which we.
Well, the thing is, that's weird. We had that with Gary Bowyer earlier this season. That's what the chant was at Gary Bowyer. So, yeah, it looks like Morecambe are coming down. Crewe, I'd say Crewe and Doncaster for me are nailed on. And Morecambe and Gillingham, I think, are going to join them. It's going to be again, next season, a strong League Two when you throw Gillingham, Donny and Crewe in there. I'm not going to say Morecambe because I think Morecambe will come down and I think they'll sort of stagnate at mid-table for a while and struggle. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Grant, we got finally the second time we're having the repeat of a section. We have sections now, and it's called But John Yems Says. Now, as soon as we did the But John Yems Says last time, we instantly got another But John Yems Says moment. Not from John Yems, but Grant, I'm going to let you talk about it because I've got the clip. I'm going to get it ready. And I'm going to let you talk about it. Talk about what we're talking about here.
Grant's put himself on mute.
Have I put myself on mute?
Sorry, I put myself on mute because I was shouting. I was shouting at the dog, and I am. Oh, mate, this is. I love it. So they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I've not got someone saying something this week. I've got someone doing something this week on a return, and this is glorious. We've already spoke about this man tonight. Hopefully, Liam's got the clip ready. Can I introduce it yet? It yet?
No, not yet. Hang on. You can in a second. Or it won't let me. Oh wait, no, wait.
I was going to say, if not, I can just describe what was going on.
I think we've got it.
Glorious.
No,
I was peeing myself.
Grant, you can describe it.
So
it's been stupid.
A certain manager, Sir John Sheridan, as Oldham fans returned to Swindon. He was getting called a few choice names off the Swindon fans, and when he was exiting, he just decided just to give the Swindon fans the finger, walking up to the tunnel, just giving them.
Do you know what I liked the best about it was? So on the tweet where someone shared it out, the first comment was a guy going, "Classless. We didn't say anything to him." But you play the video and it's the Swindon fans going, "Wanker, wanker, wanker." Yeah. And then he does it. I'm like, mate, you can hear you in the video calling him a wanker. Like, don't pretend. They were like, there's kids in this stand. He shouldn't be. There's kids stood next to the bloke who's chanting wanker for 20 fucking minutes. You know, let's be fair. I mean, yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. Really, really funny. Good move from John Sheridan. It was great. Also, John Yems got booked again the other week.
Which I don't understand how he's done that. I don't. How, when you are banned for 4 games, do you still get booked? Because I thought he was banned.
He was going on again talking about the ref, but he didn't talk directly about the ref. He was just going on saying, "Yeah, the game was ruined. You know who by? I can't say his name." It was really funny, really, really funny interview for him.
Yeah, it was a strange one. But the thing is, he's going to do that thing of, and you know, Grant, you've got something else you want to talk about actually. And speaking of managers saying things, or managers or owners saying things. But saying them quite coded.
So I'm going to talk. Is this me talking Premier League?
This is Grant talking Premier League.
I'm going to talk Premier League here for a minute, right?
This is for you, Chris, because you need to.
Yeah. So this is for you. So there's been a couple of incidents in the Premier League recently where fans have been tying themselves to goalposts. What's the cause called again? It's Just Stop Oil. Just Stop Oil, right? So it came out today, live on TalkSport, that someone has funded this Just Stop Oil movement. And it's relevant to us and relevant to League Two. Chris, who do you think has funded this campaign? 10 grand.
I can pretend I don't know, but I do know exactly who it is. I did actually listen to the same conversation this morning.
So
I know what you. And I tell you what, the fact is that Simon Jordan was on talking about it as well, and you know full well what Simon Jordan's going to think about it. Apparently, let's be fair, apparently he didn't realise that was going to be the situation, that's what they were going to do.
But he doesn't disagree with what they're doing, which is the interesting
thing.
And
again, he's not my favourite person anyway. I'm pretty sure I'm blocked by him on Twitter anyway. So, Dale Vince.
It's really, I find it really.
Anybody else really interesting? Forest Green owner, Dale Vince has got involved with the movement.
He's not got involved with it. He's essentially funded it. He started it.
Yeah, he has. And I think I'm probably going to leave it at that.
So I mean, he's been asked, "Are you going to withdraw your funding or stop your funding?" And he's went, "Well, I only gave them 10 grand." He says, "I didn't know what they were going to do with it," and he says, "No, I'm not going to withdraw it." He says, "I feel everyone has the right to protest." Which I don't disagree with, but it's got to be done in the right way. And how would he feel? I know this probably wouldn't happen at Forest Green. Forest Green's not the club that you protest that sort of thing at. If someone done the same thing at Forest Green and strapped themselves to their posts, managed to get their game abandoned, something like that, if he's knowingly doing it, is it bringing the game into disrepute?
Yeah. Simple as that. Yeah.
If the FA now will be looking into at what point he found out they were doing what they were doing. That he will be under investigation for that. But I believe he didn't know. We'll find out. The beautiful thing about it, there's a couple of things that I found beautiful about the one at the Everton game. Number one, the guy was strapped to the post with the thing around his neck. A fan from the Everton game climbed out of the stand and with a knife and gave it to the steward. The steward went over and went, "You can't come over that barrier, mate. Thanks for the knife." Didn't work. Gave him his knife back. Right? Gave the fan his knife back in the stand. No got mentioned. The other thing is that the guy's protesting about it's the drilling for oil in the North Sea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the East Coast. He went to Liverpool. That's West Coast. He was the opposite side of the country. Go to a Newcastle game, mate. You're in the wrong place. And those were the two things that I found brilliant about it. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's so hard to follow this sport at times.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's going to happen.
Next 7 days, guys. To be fair, there's not many decent-ish games that I feel are worth sort of singling out. Leyton Orient versus Barrow, for me, that's a big one. I think huge now that the Oldham have lost, huge. We've got Orient Barrow, we've got Vale versus Sutton, and Scunny versus Harrogate. Now, I've highlighted that one because they've got two of the worst forms in the league, and Harrogate are on an absolute stinker. I think have they won 1 in 8 or something like that?
I tell you what, soon as we haven't really mentioned this club very often,
Let's talk about it.
Their last 2 wins, who were they against? Yeah, Bradford City.
Yeah, both. Yeah, and
you just can't beat Harrogate. They are your bogey team. But I mean, I think Harrogate are very, very lucky that they had as good a run as they did at the start of the season, or else they would be in some real fucking trouble.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned it earlier, Grant, before we came on. If Scunny are going to pick up points again this season, it's this weekend. Or it's against Harrogate. This is the game. I don't think they will. I think Harrogate will be looking at this regardless of the run they're on, as a way to get out of it.
I'm still not hearing anything from Scunny fans either.
No, nothing. There's no mourning. There's no complaining. It's just, it's like it is what it is. Strange.
Yeah, it is.
And this is what the last thing I'm going to say on the next 7 days. Tuesday nights between now and the end of the season, they're busy. That's where the games are catching up. So we've got Mansfield next week having another catch-up game, another game in hand. They're coming to you guys, Grant. You guys had a bit of a wobble. Obviously, we've not done a recording since, and we didn't think you said, oh, I'm glad we didn't record last week because you didn't get a chance to mention it. But I'm going to mention it now. You were, I'd say, quite comprehensively, especially the second half, played off the park by a very good Bradford side that night, which, you know, we've hit. We just seem to be playing better. Saturday we weren't, but when we played you guys, it was strange to watch because I expected so much more from your guys.
I did. I said to you though, didn't I, that I wasn't overly confident about that game at all.
Yeah.
We were carrying injuries. Our midfield was depleted, I think. And I think after that game, Graham Lee saw that and he switched formation back to being 5 at the back against Newport, and it absolutely paid dividends against Newport. And it
was a Gary Liddell effect, let's be fair.
Yeah. But yeah, against you, it was not a pretty watch at all from a Pools perspective. The only player that I think that came out with any sort of credibility was Big Timmy Odesina from that game.
Odesina was
he was phenomenal. He was flying, and I think, see, over the last couple of months, a lot of folk have gave. Well, I know Bogle got the Player of the Month and managed to put the ball in his own net against Newport. But I actually think Odesina's probably been our best player. He's been given man of the match for most of our games. The challenges he's got, you seen him, and you went at the first when he was going running in because he's fast as fuck. Yeah. And then you go, and he just goes flying into a challenge, but he gets the ball clean every time. It's proper worldy challenges he puts in.
It's do you know what? It's nice to see at this level as well, to see because I think over the years I think this league has lost its grittiness. This league used to be quite dirty. Players used to fly into tackles. You used to see it. It was awesome to watch. It doesn't happen as much now, but Odesina is just, well, I mean, he pretty much marked Andy Cook out of that game for the entire game. Unfortunately, you know, we had 3 players in midfield who, again, Gareth Evans, revelation of a player since Mark Hughes came in. Gareth Evans.
What a shot Andy Cook hit in that game as well. Clear
the stands. Right. Okay. Do you know what? You can talk about Andy Cook clearing the stands. Let's talk about Player of the Month, Omar Bogle's free kick, Grant.
It almost cleared the stand.
Yeah, it almost hit me.
It almost ended up in Morrison's, didn't it?
Yeah. But this is the thing. Bradford, Hartlepool this season, it's 3-3. You know, we've won 1, you've won 1. The aggregate goal scores is 3-3. Looks like we're both staying in this league for next season. Let's see what can go on there. Chris, it'd been class if you'd have been at a cup. You'd have loved it.
I enjoyed watching the game. I enjoyed it. It was good viewing, and like you said, I think we, you know, apart from not the greatest performance on Saturday, I think we're starting to sort ourselves out. We're starting to look at a well-drilled team, I think, is probably fair. That first half, I think we played really good football, and then it just fell apart in the second half, and obviously that's where we need to bring in some new players. But I think, you know, next year, I personally have, and I know Gab would have probably said the same to you earlier on. He's you know, he thinks that Hartlepool have got a good chance next season, and I don't blame him. I you know, they've been one of the teams that I've enjoyed watching this year.
I think honestly, I think next season's going to be even more difficult than this season. We're going to lose 4 top clubs, but I think we're going to get 4 or 5 top clubs coming in. I'm including Stockport in that.
We're getting 3 from above, aren't we? 3 coming down.
Yeah.
You know, Crewe, Doncaster, Gillingham are all going to be wanting to challenge. And then you've got your Stockport. It's just who comes up with them.
I'm going to put it out there just now and say if Stockport are coming up, I think there's a real chance of them going back to back.
I agree. I really agree.
And I hate saying that. I genuinely hate saying it.
I agree. I agree, Grant. I think that they will go back to back. I really do.
Let's find out. So I'm going to end with a new little section. And this is for you two. So what I did was I put a tweet out and I essentially wanted people to send in to us any sort of silly stories that they've had from following League Two over the years. It doesn't have to be them. And this is something that anyone listening, I want you to do the same. It doesn't have to be something that you've done. It can be the most ridiculous thing that you've ever heard of a fan doing. It can be a complete urban legend that you don't know whether it's true. We want to know about it because we want it to, we want to hear the most ridiculous things. We want to hear from our own club. So I'm going to read you a few now, and I want your reactions on these here. So the first one has come in from a guy called Ollie. Now, Ollie's a Walsall fan. Grant.
Hold on. Is this Ollie Walsall?
This is Ollie Walsall. To give you some background, Ollie Walsall.
I've predicted that Walsall will finish 5th in the league. Ollie Walsall.
When
Walsall, that's a story in its own.
It is. When Walsall appointed Flynn, he did a match predictor for the rest of the season, and he showed the table, and he had Walsall winning. What was it, Grant? Something like 14 out of 15 games.
13 out of 15.
Yeah, and finishing 5th in the league. He was like, he said it's a bit optimistic, but it's going to happen. He had Bradford not winning another game this season, which, to be fair, at the time, we wouldn't have agreed. But this isn't that story. So his story is, I'm going to read it. I'm going to say it in a gentle tone. So I'm going to try and add some sad music behind this. So during the 2015 season, which as a Walsall fan was quite nice, we had, and I'm not sure if he's done this on purpose, Port Vale away. I don't know if he just doesn't like Port Vale or if he spelled it wrong. Last game of the season. We could go up if Burton lost. We sold it out, and there were inflatables everywhere. Inflatables galore. I remember the first goal going in and me losing my inflatable. Tears came. I was crying. 75 minutes into the match, we were 5-0 up. And all of a sudden, I see my inflatable coming back to me. Tears of sadness turned to tears of joy. And at the end of the match, I threw my inflatable on the pitch, and one player, I think either Anthony Ford or Rico Henry, signed it for me and gave it back. It was quite nice. then he's got another one. I was also a mascot at that season versus Wigan, and Michael Oliver reffed it, and Will Gruff shook my hand, which I was looking forward to, and a player celebrated with me. So, he went from, roller coaster really of a season for him. And then he went and predicted that Walsall were going to go 13 out of 15.
I want to know what his inflatable was.
Well, I was sure in my head, and I think I just added this word. I was positive it was a banana. And I don't know where I've got an inflatable banana. Ollie Walsall, please tell us what the inflatable was, because I read banana and I don't. It's not there.
The first thing that came into my head.
What was your inflatable?
I just thought I had this massive inflatable knob.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The player just signing the shaft of this inflatable knob.
Writing his name all the way up it. Oh, God, can you imagine? So the next one comes from Chris. You know who this guy is. I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to give a disguised name for his Twitter. We're going to say it's at the City Lent. So I got this, and you're going to know why I've disguised this name, right? Because this is the message. In response to your tweet, on the way home from Barrow this season, I had to stop the car twice to have a shite on the hard shoulder. No toilet roll the second time. I had to use a sponge, which was only good for one wipe. Then I had to use my t-shirt. I felt horrid.
So that's amazing.
last one. So what we're going to do, we're going to rate.
Please tell me it's topping that one.
To be fair, I've not read this one fully yet, but what we're going to do after this, we're going to let you guys can place them first, second, and third. So the next one comes in, or the last one comes in, it's from Tracy. She's an Oldham fan. And she says, hi. So the first Oldham Athletic game I went to was at Bristol City. My husband had moved down to Cheddar and wanted to take me to a game. Parking at Ashton Gate is an absolute nightmare, so we got in late, just in time to see the ball go in the back of the net. I started cheering wildly and running around, only for my husband to grab me and say, shut the fuck up, that wasn't us. I turned to see hundreds of Lactic fans glaring at me. I've never felt such a knob. I would say it was incredibly embarrassing.
Fans, not lactic.
Oh yeah, lactic, not lactic. just a lot of logs, just a lot of fans with just lactating in the ground. I would say incredibly embarrassing. I wish the ground would have opened up and swallowed me, rather than having to sit there for the whole match worrying that someone would lynch me and my husband, and trying to reassure other fans that I'm just a knob and not a City fan. So, guys, out of three, there we got we all know what's first.
We know what's first.
The City Lent taking a dump on the hard show. 2 dumps.
2.
I think I might mention this on his next.
Hold on. So that was 2 dumps from Barrow to Bradford.
Yeah, he had to pull over twice.
I mean,
it's not like there's no service station.
This is the thing. There's literally services the whole way down.
I mean, that's impressive, isn't it?
It's not even a long drive, really.
No, that's what I was saying. It's not long.
Grant, I drove back from Scotland last week from Grant's house. 4 hours. I didn't stop. Drove all the way through. It stopped for 2 shites.
Fantastic.
My God. So we say the City Lent has won. Second, what are we going to go with? Well, what are you guys going to go with for second? I'm going to put these in like a table. We're going to do a points thing for this season.
I think the fact that you're cheering the wrong team is pretty high up there, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say that one second, Oldham second.
Oldham second, and then third by default, Ollie Walsall. But Ollie, we're going to give him a chance to redeem himself there, because if it does turn out to be a 6-foot inflatable penis, that would make the story possibly take over the Oldham one. But guys, anyone who's listening still, because we have gone on a bit over, but we didn't do last week, so it's fine. Keep stories like that coming in, because every week we want to just do a few, and these guys will not know what's been said in these stories, so we can keep them coming. Let them just be as ridiculous as possible. It can be just so stupid. What we've also not mentioned, guys, before we go, because obviously we didn't play it because it gets edited in afterwards. What do you think of the new jingle to open the show?
I love it. I've not stopped laughing at it. I think it's great.
And I think we've been impartial tonight, completely impartial, even towards Carlisle, despite what it says. Let's be fair. So, guys, I've not got anything else to add. Have you guys got anything else you want to bring up?
I have nothing. I'm just going to leave it to Grant to do his usual spiel. And then
walk us out.
Shall we roll? All right, everyone. Thank you very, very much for listening to us once again. Don't forget to like us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter, share it, retweet it, do whatever the fuck you want on your social platform. Facebook, follow us on Spotify, rate us. Don't forget, put us 5 stars, say whatever the hell you want about us. We couldn't care less because that doesn't affect us. Just rate us 5 stars. Finally, join us in the Discord. The link is on Twitter. Have a chat with us there. Send us your stories on Discord. If you don't send them to him, send them to me as well. I'll happily read them out, but I'll read them out blind, so I've not even read them coming up before. So they could be terrible. They could be really funny. Send them to Chris as well. I've not seen Chris on Discord yet. He will appear at some point. But hey ho, guys, thank you very much for listening. We have been just
before you say we have been, I'm just gonna as a caveat to these stories. What I think would also be interesting is they don't even have to be true. We need to work out whether they are true or not. We need to essentially call bullshit if we think they are bullshit. So make them wild, make them ridiculous. We're happy to we'll if they're true and we get it wrong, tell us. But it doesn't have. It can be the most ridiculous thing ever. We'll decide whether we think it's real or not. Grant, continue.
We have been the lower league look. It's the lower league look.
Ciao for now.
It's the lower league look.